ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paul Flessner.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Well, for the next few minutes, Eric, Brian, and I are going to talk about the server and platforms business. Now, if I were doing this talk last year, but remember I didn't make it last year. I had that Oracle error incident, if you remember that. If I were doing this talk last year, we'd be talking really mostly about the products. Right? For my first 8 years at Microsoft, I was a product guy. I built products, I worked hard at it, and we had some good ones. But about January, Steve asked me to come in, and Orlando and I to come in and said, look, I want you guys to think about this business in a more integrated way. I want you to think about it more end-to-end, right? It used to be that I'd build a product and hand it over the wall, and Orlando would take it with all of you, and you guys would do a great job with it. But he said, I really need you guys to think more deeply about the business. Think about the end-to-end investment. Are we growing the revenues in the right place? Are we investing in the right products and the right places in the business? So that's what I did. I took that to heart. Being kind of an analytical guy, I decided, well, I'll start studying the numbers. You know, you get out there and you look at this economy, it's kind of scary. You know, NASDAQ down 36%, Dow down 26%, consumer confidence weary, corporate confidence shaky. But there was one number that really disturbed me the most. And that was overall server units. Server units are down. It means there's 100,000 less places for us to plug in. That's kind of a tough situation, right? I mean, how do you grow if the market is itself shrinking? Well, there's only kind of one way to do that, and that's to take share. And that's exactly what you did. 6% up in units for Windows Server. Outstanding. It really was. So I started thinking to myself, well, if our units, you know, if the overall market units went down and we went up, we took share. So it should be pretty easy to kind of figure out who we're taking share from. So we took a look at revenue. And the first one that popped up that we took share from, Solaris. Down 30%. I think Sun's having a virtual sales meeting this year. So I thought to myself, well, maybe because, you know, the market was tight, maybe we had to, you know, really kind of go lower on the price. And, you know, maybe our revenue is not going to be quite as high because, you know, it's a tough market out there. Maybe we had to get in and be a little more gentle with our prices. But nope, revenue, 21% up. Another outstanding accomplishment in that economy. So then I thought, well, let's take a look at some of the other businesses. Maybe gravity prevails in some of the other businesses. So I started thinking about the mail business. It's kind of a mature business, you know, messaging. You know, maybe that's kind of flat. And I took a look at the first competitor out there. No, it's down 7%. Brings it here to all of our eye, I know. So what happened to exchange? Hold on, 32% up. There's so many good wins with Exchange, but there's one I got to tell you about. The New York Metro team stole it on this one. AOL Time Warner, you know, our friends over at AOL, after the merger, they decided, you know, look, AOL Mail is great. All of Time Warner properties are going to go to AOL Mail. And they tried that, and it wasn't working so well. And the New York Metro team found out about it. They went in, they put together a proposal, and within 2 days had a proof of concept going, and actually won the business. So your friends at Time Warner now are now using Exchange. And so we thought to make them feel a little bit at home, you know, we just made a slight modification to Exchange to just give them a bit of a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Microsoft Exchange and Microsoft Outlook.
Let's try that one more time.
You got mail. Thanks to Microsoft Exchange and Microsoft Outlook.
Just trying to be helpful. What about the SQL business? Database business was flat. You know, actually Unix had gone down, and the Windows database business was up a little. So I had to, you know, take a quick look at the database business. And my old friends, Oracle, oh, ouch, down 14%. You know, some of you know me. I've been in the database game a little, and this one brought an especially large tear to my eye. And then we took a look at SQL Server revenue. Holy cow! Merrill Lynch. Geez, I thought I was doing it with the mic. That's good. Merrill Lynch, the Eastern Financial Services team. Merrill Lynch, they went into Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch had a whole bunch of Sybase Unix servers. And we got an opportunity to go after 500 of them. And they put 500 Sybase Unix servers on one SQL server. The database is over 1 terabyte. It went so well that Merrill just gave us a call. They got 2,300 Sybase servers they want to talk to us about. So all this added up in an incredibly tough year to an unbelievable, astonishing $600 million increase in billed revenue, 28% growth rate. You blew it away. So you had me scratching my head. I'm trying to analyze this and look at the numbers, and there's one thing I clearly hadn't figured out yet, and that is the Microsoft factor. All of you, every one of you in this room, you did it. It amazed. It was a thing of beauty to watch. That's all I can say, and I want to thank you. So, actually, I think one of the reasons you're able to do it is because you understand the customer so deeply. And this is key. I love to make fun of the competitors. I love to poke at them. I'm more competitive than anybody out there. But the thing that we really have to take to heart is the customer. And the IT customer is motivated primarily by two things, and you know this. The first and foremost is total cost of ownership. Every day, they have to prove themselves to their business. And they prove themselves by understanding that they have to do it more economically. And as we internalize this has been our advantage, right? We've gone in every year, year after year, and attacked on this, okay? Now we're being attacked on it from Linux, and we're going to talk more about that. But we cannot take our eye off this ball. Think about the customer. Think about what they're going through, and focus on total cost of ownership. This is a core design point for our products, and we will continue to push it and make it real. Now, if you're a CIO, and you've built trust, and you've proven that you're focused on TCO and not technology for the sake of technology, you've earned the right to speak. And once you get that right to speak, the next words out of your mouth better be business value. Getting connected with customers to grow revenue. Integrating with partners to increase profitability. And empowering employees for greater productivity. That's what it's about. That's what IT's about, and that's what we're about. TCO every day, and web services, and business value, getting connected. And you know what that equals? Agility. And we're going to stick with the business agility, and we're going to stick with it in the advertising, and we're going to make it work. I was talking to Kevin Johnson. I'm sure Kevin's out there. And I was having this conversation with him, and he said, man, I get agility. I know what that is. That's I go in and talk to the customer. I say, Mr. Customer, we focus on total cost of ownership. We're committed to it. You and I need to sit down because we're going to together take 20% out of your operating budget of your IT, and we're going to plow it back into business value. That's business agility. Would you like to go have lunch and talk about it? Believe me, that's a sales call that we can make, and that's what it's all about. Now, there's always areas where we can improve. And we got some tough messages here, but we're tough and we can take it. The key is, being self-aware and being self-critical and going after it. Customer stat is down. It's frightening. It's terrifying. IT Pro and Developer down 6 points this year. 6 points. IBM picked up 2 points this year. Okay? It's not only down, it's low. It's the lowest it's ever been in the company. 21% very satisfied and 18% respectively IT Pro and Developer. It's bad. We won't see big numbers if we can't win their vote of confidence and trust. So we're going to talk about investments to cover each of these in a minute, but I want to hit on the lowlights here real quick. Developer share, down 5% over the last 5 years. Revenue, down 1% this year. I don't want to be too hard on these guys. Got 50% share in the market, so we're doing okay here. But we can't take our eye off the ball. Our lifeblood is the developer. When we lose the developer, we lose. Okay? The developer is fundamental to everything we do. We've got great new energy around the developer. We're going to talk about the investment in a second. These guys are trouble. Okay? trouble. They grew WebSphere 40 to 50% this year. DB2, 10 to 20%. They're real, right? They got 3 legs to stand on there: services, hardware, and software. They don't intimidate me, but we need to respect the fact that they're there and they're executing well, and we need to make them play our game, and we're going to talk about how to do this. This next one is the most terrifying. Linux. Let's talk about this a second. Linux went up 8% in terms of market growth this year. 600,000 units of Linux were sold. 600,000. Now, if we take our average revenue per server, it's about $1,300 bucks. You multiply 1,300 times 600,000, that's $780 million. Out there somewhere, there's some dang penguin walking around with 780 million bucks of your money. That can't happen, right? That absolutely cannot happen. 780 million bucks that we need back in our pocket, all right? Are you with me on that? Do you understand what the 780 million mean anything? Is that, whose money is that? That's our money. Are we going to get it back? Get it back. Are we going to get it back? That's right. A penguin with 780 million bucks. How much fish can you buy? All right, investment. You can't bring up the lowlights without bringing up what you're going to do about it, right? And we're going to stand tall and we're going to deliver on this stuff. Customer sat, no surprises. Enterprise customers hate surprises. You can tell them bad news. They're mature. They can take it. Hey, look, we broke backward compatibility. We're going to give you a 1-year lead time. We did it for this good reason. Hey, look, we have to change our licensing policy. We're trying to simplify it. We don't want to screw it up, but we need to talk to you about it. We're going to give you a year advance notice so you can get it into your budget cycle. They're not immature. We just have to give them the message. No surprises. Okay? Product quality and security. It is a top priority. I commit to you, my personal commitment, we will be #1 in the industry in product quality and security. We are going to take this and drive it and take it to the next level. Customer touch. They want to see you. They do want to see you. They want to know you're there. I hear so many of you say to me, you know, Paul, if we show up, we win. That tears my heart out. If we show up, we win. And we didn't have enough resources to win. So we're making a big bet. And we're all in this together. You know, look each other in the eye. We got to make this thing work. Over 1,300 people going into our business this year. 900 of them are going right out to the customer. And that's what we need to take this business to the next level, and we're going to make the investment. Have the customer's conversation. This is the go-to-markets, right? Don't just try to sell them a product. Go in and understand what their pain points are and have their conversation. It's easier to talk about a line of business app and SQL Server supporting a line of business app than it is just SQL Server, right? It's a lot easier to talk about corporate web presence than it is Commerce Server or Content Management Server, right? It's easier to talk about EAI than BizTalk. Have the customer's conversation. We'll still get there. We'll build their trust and we'll get that sale. Developers share. We've got to win it back. Period. End of discussion. Over. This is a point where we have to be victorious. 350 new incremental field resources to go out and evangelize and build customer or developer satisfaction back. Web services. Web services are a winner. You know, you're talking to customers. They absolutely love it. They want to design connectivity into their applications. Get out there, give them the message, and make web services real, and make sure that .NET is the platform that they're building web services on. We're investing a huge amount of money in this area. And move the developer community to Studio.net. An incredibly important upgrade for all of us. And we're going to do more with the product to make that easier for developers. And again, a huge investment for Whidbey, the next release. IBM. The way to beat IBM is through software. Period. We make better software than they do. It'll be easier to use. It'll be more cost effective. It'll be better integrated. And that's what we have to do back in engineering. Mitch came out and talked a lot about the brand. We're going to introduce a new brand, a new IT Pro brand. It will be directly competitive with WebSphere. We will be a family brand, and we will put the server products into it, and we will advertise it, and we will build it, and we will make it an IT Pro brand for this company. SI partner investment. Here's an area that we've let languish for a few years. I guess we just had, I wasn't at Fusion a couple of weeks ago, but they said it was the best ever. Partners are reinvigorated. We're going to spend a huge amount of money, over $500 million in total partner investment, 80 incremental headcount. This is both global and at the regional level. And that's a huge commitment, and we're going to continue to build that partner community going forward. And our old friend, the Penguin. Innovation. We are spending more R&D than any other company in the world, and all of the combined Linux companies together. I don't have the exact number on that, but we're spending over $5 billion on our platform, okay? The frameworks, managed code, the runtime, all that we're doing in web services, we are innovating in this space, and we have to be proud of that. Best value. It's a bit of a tough message. TCO, they're a little bit close in some places, but don't just talk about the operating system. Talk about the platform. They're nowhere in security. They're behind where we are in NT4, okay? Mobility, we're way ahead, okay? I know they're creeping up and they're good enough in some areas, but we're going to have to also be diligent and look for incremental innovation and value we can place there. And more choices, right? Apps, devices, partner services, and incredibly importantly, tools. We've accomplished a huge amount in our tools division over the last couple of years. And last year, we announced the biggest innovation we've ever had in our tools area. And for now, we're just going to roll a video just to refresh our mind of what a successful launch that was.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Eric Rudder.
Well, good morning. I want to thank all of you for making the VisualStudio.net launch such an incredible success. We hit over 150 cities and more than 100,000 developers worldwide. In Latin America, our MSDN usage is up by over 264%. In Australia, we came in with over 90% growth in MSDN revenue. In Korea, the student developer competition touched more than 6,000 student attendees. In EMEA, in Switzerland, we created .NET Mania with the .NET Maniac t-shirt. And in the US and Canada, we ran hugely successful NetBlaze and NetBlitz programs, which delivered awesome training and pilot opportunities, and we're turning those pilots into wins. The bottom line is that you were there for us when we launched our product, and my commitment to you is that we'll be there for you in fiscal year 03 as we take the products to market. What a difference a year makes. If you look back, you think about last year's MGB, we distributed 2.5 million copies of beta software. If you look at this year, 2.5 million copies of Visual Studio.net RTM runtimes in the hands of customers. Last year, hey, we were good. We had 18 customers live on our beta software. This year, we literally have hundreds of public customer wins. Last year, our pipeline kind of looked like Visual Studio. You know, that was kind of the only one committed to using the .NET technologies. We knew we were going to get it out there. We looked this year at our pipeline. We've got Windows.NET Server, Yukon, Longhorn, Great Plains, and Office, all committed to taking the .NET framework forward. Last year, we had some good internal pilot projects on .NET. This year, we run our business on .NET. MSN, homepage, Microsoft.com, and all our internal tools like MS Market prove that we're ready for reliability, scalability, security, and key business value. Again, we did a pretty good job getting the message out, 200 books available. This year, there's more than 350 books available. And I think we've done a good job getting the content ready to get developers and IT professionals educated on .NET. Last year, we had 40 partners, always thinking about the ecosystem. Again, pretty good for beta. We've got close to 100 partners now in VSIP and more than 200 add-in tools shipping to Visual Studio. I think it's a pretty good set of momentum. I think what we've done with this momentum is taken it forward, and we're winning some big wins. It's always hard getting ready for MGB because you have to choose from all the great wins, and you're afraid of leaving some out. But I wanted to showcase 3 or 4 today. The first is Honeywell. I think the Honeywell account team did an awesome job actually introducing 4 new XML web services into the account. It's a great foundation. I think we'll build on it. They currently run more than $3 billion of revenue through the .NET portal at Honeywell. The Australian Tax Office, the ATO, an incredible project, currently generating more than 1 million reports per month with .NET technologies, encompassing more than 150 servers and 2.5 terabytes of data. And SunGard, they manage over 90% of the NASDAQ volume. That's $15 trillion in assets, 3 million transactions per day, and .NET improved SunGard's productivity by over 80%. And that's just a sample. I need to save some wins for Financial Analyst Day and .NET Briefing Day. So there's many more in the pipeline. I expect to be sharing them with you soon. I did want to take the time to go into a little bit of depth on one customer solution. The one I chose was Bank of New York. They built a system called Rufus. It's a retail funds management system. They manage more than 2 million investments today, and they plan to grow the system to over 10 million investments over time. Their key customers are other financial institutions. Now, this is a customer where we're behind. They had made the bet, and unfortunately, they had met the bet on Java and J2EE. And they were 6 months into it. But our account team was not intimidated, and they went in, and they sold the .NET Advantage. And we took 6 months of effort in their Java training and architecture and moved those skills over to the .NET platform. Not only did we win the server, but we're extending that win in the account to smart client applications. The XML web platform support was key into how it integrated with the smart client. And of course, developer productivity clinched the win. I want to show a video now and let the Bank of New York execs actually talk about the system and talk about why they chose .NET.
Bank of New York is the oldest bank in America.
What we want to be is the middle and back office to the major fund managers.
Rufus is currently the UK's leading retail funds platform.
Our clients range from banks like the Woolwich, Standard Life, through insurance companies like Legal & General, AXA, Sun Life, to normal fund managers like Merrill Lynch and Framingtons. Bank of New York have a very successful UK business. We want to extend our capabilities into being the premier pan-European provider in this market, and therefore we need a technology platform that allows us to do that, and we think .NET's the answer to that.
Building XML web services within Visual Studio is extremely easy to do.
We're going to utilise that the full to create that layer which is effectively Rufus without the screens. Using our interoperability in web services, it means our clients can integrate their websites with the Rufus application. When we first got to hear about .NET, I guess I was a bit reluctant to have a look at it because we'd already gained some momentum going down a different technology route using Java. But having gone through the evaluation exercise and had a look at it, we can see some clear benefits to our application in using .NET. One of those key things is the ability to translate and migrate our existing application into a .NET environment with minimal distraction to our clients. But there are other benefits in terms of productivity from the WinForms environment.
I think using WinForms within our Rufus development is going to enable our clients to have a very rich experience when they're using our product.
And we believe the WinForms environment gives us the capability to have a more responsive and more intelligent application form.
Consuming web services from WinForms application is extremely easy.
You don't need to do any registry work. We have always run our application where it's loaded from the server and not stored on the workstation. With .NET, we're going to get that ease of use. And when you've got so many applications out there, upgrading those as simply as possible is key to our cost of ownership. Scalability is a key issue in this industry. There is more and more people investing in these products, and we've got to make sure our application grows with that.
We're benchmarked to support 2.5 million holdings right now, and our intention would be to take our capacity to 10 million holdings.
I think .NET gives us all the flexibility and agility we're looking for, and potentially a lot more besides.
The move to .NET will provide our customers with the comfort of an application running on a mainstream scalable platform. The combination of Bank of New York's mutual funds know-how and the Rufus functionality coupled with the Microsoft platform will give us a very strong market competitive edge.
I want technology that's going to allow me to deliver the benefits to the business, and I believe .NET is going to do that for BNY.
So I think that was kind of a nice example of one customer. And how are we able to win accounts like SunGard, like Bank of New York, like Essilor, and some of the other big wins out there? I think it's really demonstrating the .NET advantage. And I've broken out the .NET advantage into 4 key themes. The first is that .NET connects your world. It connects information, people, systems, and devices. The second is that we're the only platform that provides a comprehensive solution that spans clients, servers, services, and tools. And we're the only choice for native XML web services. We deliver the best business value, the highest productivity for end users, developers, and IT professionals. And finally, we create the strongest foundation for business agility, optimized for orchestration. .NET is not a rip and replace strategy. XML web services embrace the existing assets that customers have, and it's been incredibly compelling going into account and showing them how they can use XML web services to get more value out of the existing assets that they already have in place. Well, I want to show you how we can take the .NET advantage and build some interesting solutions. So I'm going to invite Daniel Kogan on stage to do a demo with me. I'm going to kind of let you in on a little secret, too, about demos. We don't always get them done, shall I say, weeks in advance. In fact, we didn't have a demo done for this one, and there wasn't even a demo in the keynote about a week ago. And we decided, God, you know, Paul, Brian, Eric, we're all pretty exciting guys, but going an hour and 15 minutes without a demo, we got to show something. And so, you know, in years past, it just would have been unthinkable to try and put together a demo in a single week that integrates Office, devices, our servers, Windows.NET, BizTalk, content management server, SQL. You know, where do you start? You know, years ago, think about it, we couldn't even install those products in the same box. Keep that in mind as we walk through the demo today.
Okay.
Welcome, Daniel.
Great. Thank you, Eric. And just before we get started, the people I really want to thank on behalf of the Content Management Server Group is everybody out there for helping our team make 112% of its number this year. So thank you very much. Okay, what we're going to do is really talk about all the things that you were just showing. We have a website here. It's a real estate website, and it's running, as you mentioned, Content Management Server, Commerce Server, BizTalk, SQL on the back end. It was built using VisualStudio.net and the .NET framework in about a few days. So let me just walk you through what the website does and how it works, and then we're going to go in and show some of the rich functionality that this website gives us. So the first thing, like all websites that are real estate related, we have the ability to go in and search and look for homes. In this case, we have a catalog from Commerce Server that's serving up all our homes. We also have mortgages. In this example, we have our mortgage rates being given to us by our partners who are providing XML data through BizTalk and then delivering this through web services to this website. So let's go back and look for a home. Our users are going to go in and actually search for a home. You'll notice that the realtor didn't do a particularly good job in this case. They didn't put a picture. They didn't put a very good description of the of the home. That's all right. Now with Content Management Server 2002, we have the ability to publish directly from Word, directly from Office, straight out to the website, assuming that you have the rights and privileges to do so. So let's go through that exercise. This is pretty simple stuff. We get to now go in, open up a Word document, and publish directly from Word live onto the website.
Well, if it's just Word, I could do that.
You want to try driving?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
People always like to see execs take
That's
risks.
right. You're pretty hands-on exec. So well, what are you doing?
Well, I like to start with a clean directory when I demo.
No, don't do that. No, what am I supposed to do now? Start typing in front of everybody? We need the Word document.
Well, it's not a big deal. We're using Windows.NET Server here.
Good point. Since it's .NET Server, we're going to have the ability to recover. I mean, when people delete your stuff, you can be able to go in there and then select the last point and say, look at that. All the files from that point in time, we want to restore them so that when people like Eric come up and delete our demo on stage, we can go and recover it. Why don't you let me drive? I'll take over. I mean, it is simple stuff, but I'll take over. I'm going to open up my Word document. So here we have a rich Word document. It has our house description. It has some graphics. It has some formatted bulleted text. And the great thing now is that our users, although Content Management Server has always allowed some pretty simple browser-based authoring, can now go through our wizard and simply replace all the relevant content through the wizard in Word straight out to the web. So this is a Content Management Server wizard in Word, and it's going to go through. It logs me in. It chooses where the content's going to go because of a task that's being preset. We engage the Content Management Server workflow. We're going to be able to publish directly out. It's going to take a second here to just get the content. It replaces the old content, which in this case was just a simple one-line tag. But it's going to replace all that. And once that's done, we finish. Let me go back here and refresh the page. And you'll see that that content is now being directly published from Word out to the live site with our images and all our formatting. So that's pretty cool stuff. I mean, this is really about empowering the knowledge worker, right?
That's pretty nice, but I'm sort of worried the house still isn't going to sell since some people like to browse by pictures and stuff.
Exactly. I mean, when you're looking for a home, you probably want to look at the home before you read the description. Well, fortunately, our realtor has one of these handy little cameras here, and the realtor went out and took a picture in the field. Now, in order to get this house to sell quickly, he's not going to want to come back to the office and plug in and upload the picture and so on. So let me just put this iPack here on our projector. So let's get the projector up. Let me get my stylus out here. And the picture's already loaded on my iPack. And my realtor out in the field can log into this website. When they log in, which will just take me a second or so here, takes a second to wake up and do our job, and you get stage fright when you're an iPack on stage. Here we go.
Should be stage fright with me on stage.
No, it's the iPack that's got stage fright. I'm doing just fine. Okay, so we log in, and it will log in. Just a second here. We've got people doing waves out in the audience just to make sure. There we go. Okay, we logged in. That deserves applause because I logged in. Okay, now we're going to go out, look at the house itself, notice that there's no picture. We're going to choose to update the picture. Here's the image that I've taken off of my camera. I'm going to select to update that picture. Now we return to the listings. And now it's going to go back to that page and show us the whole listing.
Just go to PC.
Go here, and you'll see that when I refresh the page, On the website, we have the image. Okay? A little bit of stage fright, but not a problem. So the cool thing here is that our user was able to wirelessly go out there, upload that picture, and update our image. Well, this is pretty good for the end user, right? How do we get content onto the website? But you were talking a lot about the developer, using VisualStudio.net and the .NET framework for developing these web applications.
That's right.
So,
and you have web services in your application, the mortgages sample. But I noticed you kind of had them by bank, and I'm worried that my customers may shop by mortgage type rather than by bank.
okay, so fair enough. So, I mean, this content is really just XML, right? We're getting XML web services. These web services are presenting the content with a style sheet. Well, our developer is going to go into our dev environment, and we're just going to run over here to this other box and open up Visual Studio. And now this is Visual Studio showing a Content Management Server 2002 template. In Content Management Server's integration with Visual Studio, we now, out of the box, have the ability to drag and drop Content Management Server controls. We have the ability to do in-context debugging if we need to. We have the ability to browse our back-end SQL store. But what we're going to do here is simply drag and drop a control that's going to allow our user, the end user on the website, to select the XSLT that they're going to represent this content with. So let me just save my template after having made that change.
So none of the partners providing web services actually have to change any of the web services. I'm just using the advantage of the presentation tier to change how it's presented.
Absolutely. So the banks, we don't have to go back to the bank. We don't really have a good relationship with those folks in this example. We just get their data, and we're going to resample that data and show it differently. So now that I've saved my template, let me refresh the page. So once the page comes up, you'll see that now my end users have the ability, same content, presented in a different way simply because we added the control that flips that. So what we're showing here, I mean, it's really all the .NET servers, Commerce Server, Content Management Server, BizTalk that's giving us this data, all running on top of SQL, using Visual Studio and the .NET framework to build real web applications. What's really important for everybody in the field to know is that this is real. This is working today with real software and available. You can get the downloads for this already on the internal websites, and you can go build it yourself.
Thanks, Daniel.
Okay, thanks a lot.
There's nothing more fun than doing a live demo. I think one thing I want to take the time to share with you is that we're going to be incredibly aggressive about taking the message of the .NET Advantage out into the public in the next year. And I wanted to bring you up to date on an event that we're doing July 24th in Redmond. We're calling it the .NET Briefing. And its mission is really to tell the .NET story. We're going to take credit for some of our accomplishments, shipping some of the great products. We're going to discuss the next wave that we're making in platform investments. And we're going to demonstrate our continued industry leadership. The theme of the event is breaking down the barriers. Breaking down the barriers between people, in terms of communications and collaborations, breaking down the barriers between systems and organizations, and our next generation investments in web services infrastructure, breaking down the barriers to trust and all the work we're doing around trustworthy computing, breaking down the barriers to accessing knowledge and the work we're doing with unified storage and our next generation of applications, and finally, breaking down the barriers to everyday use and the work that we're doing with our next generation user interface. I think this is really important. We'll make these materials available to the field on .NET Factory. We'll stream it internally. And I think this will be some great collateral for getting the message out there. Well, what's left? Let's talk about some of the developer imperatives for fiscal year 03. Paul's going to talk about the server and tools business overall, but there's 5 specific imperatives to our business that I want to talk about. The first is moving the developer community to .NET. We've done a great job getting started in fiscal year 02. I think we've made great progress in some of the high-end enterprise accounts. But there's still a lot of work to be done in the breadth space. Our critical strength in the past has come from the VB user. And to be honest, there's a little customer dissatisfaction with VB6 and the migration path to .NET. So we're launching a program we call Operation Upgrade. We'll improve some of the conversion wizards. We'll have some more samples. I think the real opportunity to make the product fundamentally better actually lies ahead in Whidbey. But moving our developer base to .NET in fiscal year 03 is one of our top imperatives. We need to do that by building the entire .NET ecosystem. This isn't a job we can just take on alone. We'll have great products. We've got a great field, great sales force, great services. But we need to bring the ISVs forward. We need to bring our SI partners forward, our VARs, our VAPs, and all the work we do together to move the entire industry ecosystem to .NET. We're going to continue to win the enterprise developer. We're off to a great start here. And Paul said we need to respect IBM. I agree. They're a tough competitor. But when we get into an account, when we engage, when we pilot, we will win more than our fair share of the business. We need to grow mind share and usage in academia. Students are the next generation. We need to make these students realize their potential by learning and embracing .NET technologies. In part, this is delivering on the basics, making sure we have the textbooks, the curricula, making sure we reach out to students and professors. But it also involves making sure that .NET is kind of cool and hip and relevant on campus. And that remains a key initiative for us next year. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, we need to continue to earn customer trust and improve developer satisfaction. In fact, this initiative is so important, I actually took the opportunity to do one drill down slide. In the developer division, we have 10 principles that we're going to try and live by over the next years, and in fact, a cultural change for all of us. The first is really the overarching theme. It's putting the customer first and walking in their shoes. We need to understand the customer's perspective. We need to use what we ship and ship what we use. And we really need to think about how the customer would like to see our technologies and services. We need to make security a core feature throughout the entire development process. I'm incredibly proud of the work that we've done overall in security. I'm very happy we took the time in Visual Studio.NET. We actually delayed our RTM launch by a few months to go through and do that final check. It was great. We found some stuff. Getting fresh eyes on code is always a great thing. But we need to do more than just do security checks after the fact. We need to treat it like we do treat usability. We need to constantly check through the process, making sure we have the right code, the right operational deployment, making sure we work with customer products that deploy secure infrastructure. This will be a key focus for not only my group, but all the server and platform products. We need to understand the customer's definition of quality and implement it. Our products will be second to none in terms of quality. We need to integrate community and transparency into development. In our next generation products, you'll actually see the community windows literally built into the product. You know, the Visual Studio Project System understands that you're doing data access or that you're working in Commerce Server. And if you have a question, it'll take you to the right news group. Microsoft personnel will be available to answer. The community will be available to answer. The MSDN resources will be invoked for searching. And we need to make sure we take advantage of not just our resources, but the entire .NET community at large. And by transparency, I mean sharing our roadmap with developers, telling them where we're going to go, you know, and making sure that they're really part of the design process. We need to involve our customers in product design earlier and more often than we do today. I think sometimes we're a little scared that some features will get out, you know, the competition will learn about it. I want to err more on the side of openness and transparency with our customers. We need to understand that we can't ship today what we don't intend to support tomorrow. And this isn't just about product features. This is also about the programs that we put in place with partners and marketing teams as well. Sometimes, though, we will have to make changes. Sometimes there's incredible customer benefit to the changes that we're going to make. We'll deliver increased security or increased performance or increased robustness. And in this case, when we make breaking changes, we need to make sure we don't leave our customers behind. We need to give them advance notice. We need to help them plan. We need to help them manage. And we need to give them early notice and make sure that there's a way forward. We need to practice what we preach. Right? We're espousing the web services vision. We're espousing the .NET and the frameworks. We need to make the bet with core Microsoft products. We need to make sure we deliver on the core feature set before we focus on some of the frosting or bells and whistles. And finally, we need to document, document, document. And then give some more samples. I can't tell you how many times I've been out in the field or talking to customers. I want more prescriptive guidance. I want more prescriptive architecture. I need some samples. You know, tell me about this. Tell me about that. I was just talking to Paul about how his son sometimes gets more answers in the community than he does from looking at the documentation. I think it's a great thing that the community is healthy, but we need to do an even better job providing content and thinking about how we make that content available in new formats, new ways of training, new ways of content delivery in the future. Well, fiscal year 03 was awesome. And it's hard, fiscal year 02 was awesome. And it's hard to put forward a fiscal year 03 challenge. I know Brian put forward the two-wheel challenge for the Harley a couple of years back. I'm kind of a four-wheel guy. Two wheels good, four wheels better. We made great progress with our EAs last year. We signed some incredibly large deals for MSDN, some of the largest deals we've ever signed in history. Lucent, 4,000 licenses. Dassault, 2,000 licenses. Goldman Sachs, 2,000 licenses. State Farm, Daytech. Amazing progress. We know we can make even more progress in fiscal year 03. And our challenge this year is for every 1,000 licenses of MSDN EA that you sell, you'll win a case of champagne. I've upped the ante to make sure the case is actually signed by our executives. And finally, for those that are truly ambitious, if you can actually exceed a 30% EA attach rate for tools, we'll actually throw in a Porsche Boxster, or if it's a large team involved, we'll actually send you on a cruise to your destination of choice. So the details for this program will be up on our factory website, just to make sure that we don't game the system. But overall, I'm pretty sure I'll be giving away some champagne next year. In summary, we have tremendous momentum. Some of the big wins are starting to happen. We're increasing the number of J2E switchers. We're increasing the momentum over Linux in the enterprise. We are going to host a lot of our information around factory. Sanjay showed that in some of the breakout sessions. I encourage you to visit it. That's our internal community for how we serve our customers better. I'm sure that fiscal year 03 will exceed our expectations. We have the right products, we have the right programs, and most importantly, we have the right people. I'm actually going to get off stage now and let some more of those right people come on stage and present. I want to thank you once again for your support, and I look forward to a great next year. Thank you.
Our architecture is specialized. The solution designs are based on the combined real-world experiences and best practices of Microsoft and each one of these partners, all of whom will stand behind us to support and service these solutions. We've validated and proven these solutions in the lab and also in real-world experience. With WebSphere, it's one size fits all.
All right. But your competitor says that they can do the same thing. Now, we could go with them, or we could go with you. But what makes you better, really? We could go with this, or we could go with that. We could go with this, or we could go with that. We could go with this, or we could go with that. We could go with this, or we could go with that.
Shocked by the cost of their invoice, but not with my Windows. Windows have a choice. Busloads of consultants don't make you rejoice. Your answer is Windows. Windows have a choice. Yeah. If you go with this, then you can go with this. And if you go with this, then it'll work with this. But if you go with that, you can only go with that. So you should go with us. You can go with that, and it'll cost you this. Or you can go with this, and it'll cost you that. So you should go with... You'll be shocked by the cost of their invoice. It's not like my Windows. Windows have a choice. Yeah. Don't be fooled by expensive decoys. Your solution starts with Windows. Windows have a choice. You can go with this, or you can go with that. But if you go with that, what's the make of that? Surprised to find it's this, or shocked to find it's that. And you can go with us. Or you can list. But if you go with that, you'll have to eat at this. So you should go with it. Windows of choice. Windows of choice.
So, you can spend your money managing complexity, or with Microsoft services and solutions, you can add business value.
Brian, anything you'd like to add?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Valentine.
Thank you. Oh boy. All right, look, we're on a tight schedule here. I used to sit on the knee of my granddad. He used to work in a sawmill, but he told me once, one of the basic rules of life is when you're presenting to 15,000 people, you never stand between them and their lunch. So I'm going to get going here. So I'm going to set this back here as motivation because I'm standing between you and your lunch. One other point I want to note, though, is have you noticed how thin Steve is this year? You might think he just went on a diet because he wants to lose weight or be healthy or something. That's not what happened. Steve's always trying to reinvent this company. Steve sat down a year ago and told us all exec staff, look, I've got a new idea. There's a load limit on exec staff. He brought in Mike Sinig, Jerry Elliott, brought a bunch of people. Well, Steve said, I'll be the first. I'll lose weight so we can bring in more exec staff. He's a great leader, I admit that. So, guess who's next? So I really should put this lunch further back. All right. So you've all seen these numbers before, and I'm a pretty competitive guy internally at Microsoft, and you know, there's only one point I want to make about the percentage numbers. Just remember, 10% of a billion is much better than 100% of a million. Just remember that. Just want to make that point to my peers. All right. I'm not going to pick on the competition this year. I'm going to pick on my peers. What the hell? Whoops, there's already lost. All right, we're at $12.4 billion in Windows revenue this year, but this is the interesting thing that I like. This is the one that I set in my office and I just look at on my screen day after day after day. 7.6 billion of that is pure profit to this company. I mean, you guys have done a great job this year. I mean, we blew away the profitability of IBM, the profitability of Sun, and the profitability of Oracle. What a great business. Thank you. I am not worthy to be standing up here because you guys kicked butt last year. Great job. How did we get there? The biggest profit growth for the company last year was in Pro Mix. XP Pro Mix, Windows 2000 Pro Mix. We really bumped the Pro Mix on business PCs last year. We went from 34% in FY02 to FY01 to 50% in FY02. That's business PCs, though. So if you think about it, there's still half of the business PCs shipping out there from OEMs are shipping without a business operating system on top of them that we believe is our business operating system today. So there's lots of upside there to go get more revenue. Same thing with finished package product, same thing with annuity, but we've done a great job on Pro Mix. That's been a huge gain for us this year. On the server, we've done an okay job, 2% on enterprise mix. So every server that ships out there, most of them are standard servers today, and about 7% to 9% of those are data center advanced servers. So there's lots of upside to get advanced server and data center out there. Now, I know you're going to come back to me and tell me, well, gee, Brian, if you just do your job, and put some differentiation in these servers, maybe you'd make it easier for us to go sell Advanced Server. So we're thinking about that with Windows.NET Server, and we're doing those things. But what my answer back to you is when I get there and my team is like telling me, they're like grinding through it, and they're going, oh my God, Brian, it's hard, it's hard, it's hard. Well, what I tell them is, look, Microsoft's a great company. We don't hire, we could hire dumb people and not pay them very much money if it was easy. But it's not easy. And I know everybody out there thinks we don't pay you enough money, so don't prove to me you're not smart, right? So let's think about how we drive those mixes this year, and let's be smart about it. Our goals for next year is $13.3 billion of Windows revenue, and of course, every mix that we shift up, we're striving for 58% Pro mix on business PCs this year. We really want to try to drive that higher. Every percentage point's another $30 million that we just bring in. All right, server, we want to get it up to 11% on enterprise server mix. Every percentage point there is $45 million more to the company. So when you think about it, how do you get there? How do you actually go beyond that? Well, first and foremost, you have to reap what you've already sown. We've got a lot of machines out there that aren't on Windows 2000, that aren't on Windows XP, and it's time to go capture those. So it's time we planted the seeds. Let's go, reap the benefits of that, and let's really focus this year on how do we move up those machines. And whether it's NT4 machines, whether it's Win9X machines, whether it's Windows 2000 and people are thinking about moving to XP, go capture those machines this year. There are a lot of machines out there that aren't running our best operating systems out there today, and we really have to put programs in place. And you all know me that if you're out there trying to get deployments to happen and you're out there trying to get upgrades to happen and they're not happening and you're not sending me email telling me that you need more stuff, whether it's tools, whether it's help, whether it's resources, whether it's case studies, to get it done, then shame on you. And so if you're out there trying to deploy and you can't get it done, contact me, contact people in my group. And what I've done with this presentation this year is I've actually put what I call inside the product group butts on the line for each one of these things. So there's a website you can go to, there's a email alias you can email, and there's a contact in place, a person's name in place that owns each one of these initiatives. So if you're having deployment problems, contact Mark. If Mark's not home, contact Brian. You can always come to me, and I'll find somebody to help you with these things. Of course, we had the Windows Challenge 2.0 last year, which was the first team to upgrade 150,000 Windows XP desktops. 2 Windows XP desktops from Win9X would win the skinned Volkswagen Bug. Nobody's done it this year, just like the Harley. It takes a little time to do. But I'm actually going to change the challenge this year. If you pull 9X or NT4 machines, then I'm going to count them in the 150,000. So be the first to get there and get that skinned Bug. Couple of dates on the slide. Windows 2000 SP3. I know there was a press release or a leaked press release. Oh, by the way, if anybody's ever forwarded my email, please put your hand up right now. I've got people in the audience that want to come and talk to you. All right, well, just so you know. All right, so we've had a leak on SP3. People were claiming MSI 2.0 isn't there. We're dramatically slipping it and all that kind of stuff. No, not true. Right? When you read those leaks, don't believe them. All right? People will most of the press out there likes to create news, not report news. So if you ever have a question about something, come to me like you did on that one. SP3 is going to ship July 31st. That includes all of the security push updates in it. XP SP1 will ship the end of August. That includes the compliance decree and all of the security push fixes we have made during the security push. At Windows.NET Server, scheduled to go out the end of the year, tablet and really going in and re-energizing people's thinking around desktop computing in enterprises. The tablet's going to be a great tool to do that. That's out the end of this year. So really get in there and start pushing those deployments. With XP SP1, if you've got people waiting, it's going to be there. So get in there and get it done. So when I dream, this conference is all about, they pick conference themes, all about realizing potential. I dream that it's time to eradicate Win9X and NT4 off the face of this planet, right? It's our job to do that over the next couple of years, and we should really step up and do that. And you say, but that's our own operating system. And I say, I don't care.
Get it out of there because it's not reliable, it's not secure, it's not manageable. Really get our customers onto our current operating systems and really drive that forward this year. So first and foremost, if you've got NT4 or Win9X systems in your accounts, get out there and capture them. It's important. And just to give you some ideas, we're not going to talk percentage points here, we're going to talk real dollars. If we upgrade, there's 4.6 million NT4 servers out there running in the world today. And of course you could say, well, gee, why advanced server, why not standard server? Because I like to dream big. Let's just pretend we converted them all to advanced server. $5 billion of additional revenue to Microsoft. That's not the interesting one. The interesting one is there's 426 million PCs in the world running non-XP or non-Windows 2000. They're on 9X or NT4. If we grab 20% of those that are the ones that today are capable of running those operating systems, that's another $7.7 billion to Microsoft. It's an amazing number. That's a whole revenue, that's a whole quarter's revenue to us. So go out there and capture those machines. But what if we got, if we want to dream big, what if we got every PC out there that's not running Windows 2000 Pro or XP upgraded and they had to go out and buy a new PC? That's $35.2 billion of additional revenue to Microsoft. All total, there's nearly $50 billion of upgrade revenue out there. That's the full potential. Now that's a big dream because that's every PC. And like I said, it's not easy in all the cases, but if it's easy, we would hire dumb people and pay them not much money. So don't complain about it being hard. Get out there and capture that revenue. That's huge upside for the company on NT4 upgrades and Win9X upgrades. Of course, when you build an operating system, they always beat you up. It's not secure, it's not reliable, doesn't scale, isn't manageable. And we all know what we went through this year around security and Code Red and Nimba and what the company did to react to it. One of the great things about this company is that we thrive on crisis. And boy, did we create a great crisis from the product groups this year. And so, but the company reacts wonderfully to crisis. And so what we did towards the end of the year with the STPP program and what we did with, Bill's memo and with creating, the security push efforts and really changing the culture of how we build products inside Microsoft, I can confidently stand up here today and tell you that we are going to build much more secure products in the future. It's not a destination, it's a journey, and we are changing the culture inside the product groups that we will build a lot more secure products. I can't promise you'll never have a vulnerability, but boy, I spent months talking to hundreds of customers being the security exec at Microsoft, and it was amazing. I got my butt kicked in every call. I got my butt kicked in every visit. It was very, very painful. And in fact, I sent a memo out to the Windows group at the end of December that said, I'm not proud of what we do anymore. It was to the point where we had inflicted so much pain onto our customers that we had to do something absolutely dramatic to change the attitude of how we build products inside Microsoft. The wonderful thing about it is every product group is now stepping up. Every product group is doing security pushes. Every product group cares now about that customer touch and building secure infrastructures out there. So we will move through this problem and we will deliver those secure products. So it's just amazing how we can react as a company. And I realize, thank you, I realize that you're out there fighting that battle today and we're deploying information and content and everything else. But when you look at XP SP1 and you look at Windows.NET Server from the Windows division, it will be measurably more secure based on number of vulnerabilities found in the product. So we're going to keep on that and we're just going to keep rolling. One of the things that I learned in talking to customers and talking to all of you folks is that Windows typically wasn't being managed in a high operations, sensitive way. So when Code Red and Nimba hit, they really had no patch management solution in place. Well, we've now developed the guidance and the content for how customers should deploy patch management systems in their environment. So one of the things you should be engaging with your customers this year is engaging with them on how do you manage security vulnerability updates and patches and software distribution within your environment. And if you're a large customer with SMS 2.0 and how we've pulled that back out of the quality mess we created with it to being a great product that it is today, you should be engaging in large enterprises with SMS and the value pack that we will be coming out so that they can connect up to Microsoft and have security vulnerabilities automatically downloaded into their environment and then distribute them in a very rapid response type way. So be engaging with your customers on inventorying their environments and getting patch management deployed out there in their environments. And so if I have a dream, you know, if we're going to dream about dreams and realizing potential, we really have about $127 million we can bring into the company, even by just going out there and engaging in patch management. And so really get out there and engage. It's not about the revenue in this one. It truly isn't about the revenue. What this one's about is getting our customers onto a managed environment that when a vulnerability needs to be responded to, that they can respond in an active way. They know the inventory of their environment, and they have the ability to respond so that then they have respect of Microsoft that we're helping them as opposed to hindering them in their business. Another thing to think about is we are coming out with a security solution offering as part of the security go-to-markets that we'll be having over the next year. And really, to think about security, it's not just thinking about securing your Windows operating system. It's not about just securing your Exchange environment, whether it's securing your file and print servers, your desktops, or whatever. You really have to start engaging with customers on what is your security infrastructure, your secure and connected infrastructure, and what are you going to do about it, customers. So it's great that we've had a relationship now with Mike Sinek and his group since Mike's been here on building those security solution offering and that relationship with MCS so that we can actually get out there and intelligently engage with our customers. One of the products we have that we can prove to our customers that if you put this product in place, you will have a higher secure environment in front of your DMZ and behind your DMZ is ISA servers. So don't forget when you're out there selling security this year and selling solutions this year, don't forget about our firewall product in that. And if we get a firewall attached to every 10 Windows servers in FY03 that we sell, that's an additional $308 million of revenue in that space. So there's a lot of potential to realize there. I'm not going to go through this slide, don't worry. I know I'm standing between you and your lunch. But this is a slide I put up here just for one reason. When we shipped Windows 2000, we all know it was a very reliable operating system. We've continued to enhance it with service packs and fixes, but it's a very reliable platform today. In the product group, we've continued to make very significant investments in Windows.NET Server around reliability. So we haven't forgot in this whole security push that we've done that it's all just about security. No, we haven't forgot that we've got to deliver on reliability, we've got to deliver on scalability, and we've got to deliver on manageability. So we put a ton of effort, and we'll have some very, very interesting things we've done around Windows.NET Server, around reliability, and just keep chopping away at driving up into the data center and winning those high-end line of business applications. Everybody's going to talk about this during the conference this week. It is important. Linux hasn't done a huge number of units this year, even though it's hundreds of thousands. When you compare to the total number of units of PCs that get sold out there, it's not, you know, you kind of look at it and say, well, you know, what's the big deal? Well, when you think about Linux and you think about what IBM's doing with Linux, it is a very big deal this year. And in fact, when we sit around and talk about this in our BPRs and our strategy meetings, this is the single biggest threat to the Microsoft Corporation today. So put that in your mind. Don't forget that this year. It is about Linux. I've sent mail to the field multiple times that, of course, have ended up all over Slashdot and Register.com and all those kind of things. We won't go there. But I've sent mail multiple times that you need to be out there inventorying your environment and engaging in your environments and your customers of where Linux is today. And do not lose a single desktop in an educational environment, in a large customer environment, in a small business environment. Absolutely do not lose a single desktop to Linux. And that means if you have to go in there and engage them on aggressive pricing, then get in there and engage them on aggressive pricing. Don't lose the desktop. That's number one rule. Second rule is don't lose the server. They've got a lot more momentum in the server space. Get in there and engage. You've got to be able to get in there and engage. And if you're losing, then get us that information, because this is the most critical thing that the product groups are going to care about over the next year. And last but not least, don't lose in the embedded space. Don't lose in the point-of-sale system space. Don't lose in the device space. Keep active in where those designs are going on in your accounts and your partners, and really get in there and engage, because if we let them continue to get momentum, it is a huge threat to this company. So what you need to do is, if you have any kind of issue, you need to basically get on the Linux escalation desk by either going to the Linux site or sending email for help. You should be inventorying your environments and going aggressively after Linux. There are many people that we've got in place now that are committed to us succeeding in keeping Linux out of our accounts and out of our design wins. We have to go aggressive on this one. And really, they've taken a lot of money from us today. They don't realize all of that revenue that we could realize, but if we got advanced server into those Linux server sales today, that's another $1 billion of revenue they've effectively taken from Microsoft. And we just have to get aggressive and go after that. One of the things we can go after is, what's the value of the platform? And again, I'm not going to go through this slide. This is a slide that came out of Fusion this week. But really, when you look at the Microsoft solution, when you look at what the customer needs are, or the customer values are, of what they want out of the products they buy, we've got a great story there to go tell them. Now, if we aren't putting the story together appropriately for you, then like I said, get on the Linux escalation desk or get into my marketing folks and really hammer them that we're not putting the story together appropriately. But it's not just about, Linux. When people tell you Linux is higher value because it's cheaper or whatever, we've got a much better value proposition to the customer, especially if you compare it to what IBM does. IBM has a ragtag bunch of stuff that they put together around Linux, and yeah, they can paint a nice umbrella strategy about it, but as soon as you dig off, peel a couple of layers on the onion, they don't really have a good story around Linux. And in fact, what they want to do is use Linux to maintain account control of their mainframe accounts, AS400s, R6000s, or whatever. They're not going to be aggressively in there selling Intel architectures. So really go in there aggressively after Linux and that platform. Another thing that we've learned, in mainly working with you folks and battling Linux in these environments, is it's an interesting time over the last year. Unix line of business applications are in trouble. They are truly in trouble, especially if they're running on Sun today. Because of the way the economy is today, every single customer is looking at cost of their infrastructure and cost of their operations. Well, it's important that you get in there and engage if they're thinking about moving off Unix in the mini computer environment down to Intel architectures, because it is easier. Because Linux is really Unix on the Intel architecture, it is easier when the customer first thinks about it that they want to move to Linux to move those line of business applications to an Intel architecture box. Now, so it's not easy to go in there and engage with it, but you've got to go in there and engage on the value, you've got to go in there and engage on the architecture, you've got to go in there and engage with our partner model, you've got to go in there and engage with our service model, our architectures around .NET, frameworks, and everything else, and convince the customer that the platform they want to be on is a Microsoft platform and not just a Unix platform moved to a Linux environment. And we got to really move that way. And the things that I've seen that are successful that some of you have done out there is, first of all, you don't have to go engage and say you have to port every application. The best way to engage is say, look, let me understand where you're doing new application development. Let's talk about getting that on a Windows platform. And if we can't win that, then we're in trouble. Right? Somebody's developing a new application. Boy, we better be in there and winning that one most of the time. Then you want to engage with them on where they're going to extend their existing applications. So if they're doing application extensions of their existing environment, we should really be in there playing hard to try to get them to move those extensions over to Windows and get Windows integrated into that environment. With our SFU tools and other things like that, we have a pretty good interoperability story there. And then last but not least, you can talk to them about porting native Unix code to Windows, but that's not where you start. You start with the new applications, and you really move forward from there. Another thing is there's a lot of non-Windows file storage going out there, and we don't want to lose the file storage business. File and print have been the key to the Windows Server business throughout the history of the Windows Server business. So make sure that if there's non-Windows storage going into your environment, you're in there engaging very aggressively around how you can go in there with a standard Windows Server, advanced Windows Server storage solution, but if the customer moves down the device path, we now have OEMs out there that have great solutions running NAS devices with Windows inside those devices. And so we want to make sure that we capture that CAL revenue, we want to make sure we capture that Windows revenue, and not let the customer move off of that Windows platform, even if it's in a device. And I know sometimes it's hard to tell where these devices are going, but be in their inventory and working with your environment. If they go down the NAS path, then work with them on getting them onto a Windows NAS device as opposed to a non-Windows NAS device. It's very important for the file server business. And if we think about potential revenue, it's $1.5 billion plus of revenue in the file server space. One thing that I think, and Mom is starting to catch on, but Microsoft Operations Manager, one of the things that you should do, and this is the one favor, I ask for a favor every year. This is the one favor I would ask of you this year, because I think it's an easy thing to do, because actually monitoring of those servers is what the customer wants to do. But every single server you sell next year, you should ask yourself the question. I'm asking for the favor of just ask yourself the question of, should I have a mom agent attached to that server? And we can get a lot of incremental revenue out of having that attachment there and having that monitoring environment there. It's pretty much easy money. That's the one easy one you should be able to in there engaging on. And we've got some great references we're coming out with now that mom's been out there and customers are deploying. But really ask yourself, in every EA you sign, in every deal you go in and sign for a server anywhere, any partner you work with on server deals, ask the question, why isn't there a mom agent attached to that server? And the agents that exist for Exchange, for BizTalk, for Active Directory, and for SQL Server are all very good agents. Actually, we've got great testimonials now from customers about how great those things are working for them. So make sure you go in there and engage on MOM. And it really is a huge upside for us. There's over $1 billion of revenue if we get a MOM server attached to every server attached out there in the world that we ship next year. Windows.NET Server is launching this fiscal year. You notice I said this fiscal year, because if I said this year, it might mean December, and we know how that goes in the product groups. So we will be launching Windows.NET Server this year, and of course the reason I'm a little like dancing up here on stage about the date is the fact that server releases are quality releases. We won't compromise on security, we won't compromise on reliability, and we won't compromise on quality. Current target date for shipment is in this calendar year, but of course then there's a couple month leg for launch. But we will be launching Windows.NET Server this fiscal year. And that will be like about a few of the most significant launches. It'll be the most significant launch we do as Microsoft this year as a product launch standpoint, this fiscal year. So make sure that you're out there getting your customers engaged on Windows.NET Server. There's a lot of really cool things that we put in there from a feature standpoint. We've doubled the performance in just about every scenario from a scalability standpoint. So it's very interesting from a scale standpoint. The security in there, we fixed over 8,000 bugs in that product just directly related to security. So it's a much higher secure environment. So there's lots of good reasons to move your customers to Windows.NET Server. And the way you get them to move is you get them deploying today in their pilot environments and their test environments. But that server is going to come out this fiscal year, and we're going to have a pretty exciting launch around Windows.NET Server. One of the other things I want to ask of you is keep giving us the evidence. We really need evidence from you folks on XP deployments, and we really need evidence from you on Windows 2000 deployments, and then as we move to Windows.NET Server, really give us the evidence on Windows.NET Server. So I really want you to help in lining up those early adopters and working with the product groups on evidence. And last but not least, before Paul comes back up here for just a couple minutes to close, and then you get to go to lunch, is at the end of the video I was smiling. You might think I was smiling because I like what I do, but reality, you know, I stood up here last year and, you know, threw out pucks and threw out challenges and things like that, and I get a lot of questions as, well, what happened this year? Well, two things happened. One is McNeely still didn't show up, so, you know, I'm not going to pick on him this year. And the second thing is that we actually beat them 7-1 this year. So another great year for the hockey team. So with that, in closing, it is about reaping what we've sown out there with the operating system. It's get your customers ready for Windows.NET Server and get those upgrades and get those deployments going. You're not done until we get deployed on the platform we want them to get deployed on. Same thing in the desktop. Go after any existing Win9X, go after any existing NT4 boxes, and really get them up on the professional editions of 2000 or XP. And last but not least, this is the year to really get smart in how you engage with Linux, because Linux is a very big threat to this company as we look forward. And it's really time to get into that crisis mode around Linux and really go get serious about it. And we'll continue to build those great products for you. So with that, I'll bring Paul back up. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. Give me the clicker there. Excellent. Well, thank you. We're in this thing for the long haul. We're up against tough, entrenched competitors. You see the top left there, total server revenue, right? Against us and our two key competitors, Oracle and IBM. IBM all-up revenue. This includes their AS400 and their mainframe. If you took that out and just put Unix and Windows, actually they'd be right down there between us and Oracle. But IBM, I put it in there all up. You know why? Because it's a good target. It's what we're going to go after. They've been kind of flat, and they creeped up a little bit this year. Oracle, one that we've been watching, and honestly, our revenue's been tracking great against Oracle. They stumbled this year, and we move forward. Investment, you can see where we're at. Nobody's even close. We're in this thing for the long haul. We'll continue to make progress. We'll continue to build momentum. You want to talk about momentum? Look at momentum. Every business is seeing great momentum. CMS, a product we just put in the market, 300% customer acquisition rate. Outstanding year for those guys. $25 million in billed revenue. Exchange, 61% of Fortune 500, 2 times more deployed seats, 100 million seat mark this year. Outstanding year. SQL Server, #1 database on Windows. No choice anymore. We're about 4 to 5 percentage points of share above all others on Windows. BizTalk, unbelievable growth rates. Continues to just blow it out. Had a huge win. Quest in Denver, the NSP team in Denver, went in, sold a $14 million deal to Quest with BizTalk, taking up, getting $6.8 million of that deal. We're now starting to get the things out of the pipeline and actually committing to great revenue. So again, great momentum across all points of the business. Don't let this slide intimidate you. We know what we do. We build great software. We're going to continue to build great software, and we're going to continue to make steady progress. When I first started in this, the guys were like, well, why are you building a database? Oracle's so far ahead in, the revenue, their product. You know what? Steady progress. I can remember Larry Ellison standing on stage when we were launching SQL Server 7.0 in '98. He stood up opposite our launch event at Comdex, and he got that kind of nasty, squeaky voice. We own all the benchmarks. Man, I was so mad. You know what? We own all the benchmarks. No. All except one, and we're going to get that one this year with 64-bit. So you just stay at it. Steady progress. But it takes a lot to win. And we are in this thing to win. Right? Fiscal year 03, going to be a tough climb. You know what it's going to take to win in fiscal year 03? $4.7 billion. $4.7 billion is what we need next year. 15% growth. And you guys can do it. Absolutely we can do it. We've got the right products, the right people, the right strategy, and most of all, what you bring, that X factor that I hadn't figured out, you, the people. The people in this room will make us achieve that $4.7 billion goal. We can only do it if we keep our promise to the customer. No surprises. I can't say this enough times. We in the product groups have worked hard on this better together. Our products are going to be better together, better integrated, better for the customer. I need all of you to internalize no surprises. Do it every day. Think it every day. Talk to your customers. Give them lead times. It's okay to change things. They just got to tell them. Okay? They can deal with change. They can't deal with surprise. Product quality. We will set the industry standard. I thought a long time before I wrote that down. Software is a very complicated thing. Getting the right level of quality is a very daunting task. This company has to lead. We're the best software company in the world. I asked Jim Gray. I said, Jim, I want to talk to the top software quality experts in the world. Who would I talk to? And he looked at me and said, well, shouldn't that be you? Best business value and lowest TCO. Help the customer realize their potential. If we do that, they'll continue to reward us with their vote of confidence. And you know what their vote of confidence is? It's their dollar. They vote with their dollars. If they trust us, they'll keep voting. And it's up to us to build that and talk their talk and have their conversation. Last slide. What do we have to do this year? Win customer trust. We can't take another year where we continue to erode on customer satisfaction and customer trust. One way to do that, our big investment in getting all of you out there to have the customer's conversation. That's important. Help them win. And win developers. Eric and his team have done such a fabulous job. It is innovative technology. Web services win. Customers are turning away and having the web services conversation, not the J2EE conversation. I'm so proud of what they've done. We've got more to do, but get out there and win developers. This last one, get it back. They're supposed to grow 24% this year. Can't happen. Get it back. We own TCO with the customer. Get it back. We innovate on this platform. Get it back. I want my $780 million back. Are we going to get it back? Say it with me. Get it back. 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 I love this company. Thanks very much.